Hello, welcome to the Learning Tree Reading Fair Day 4. I'm Meredith McGee, the organizer and a member of Learning Tree Book Club, and I'm in Jackson, Mississippi, and the other readers are going to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. I am Vicki Jenkins, and I am a member of the Learning Tree Book Club. And I'm also in Jackson, Mississippi. And we look forward to being with you today.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Talianne Hines. I am 11 years old. I go to Jen Smith Elementary School, and I'm also the Reading Book Club member too. And I'm going to be reading with y'all today.
Thank you. Okay, Vicki, you got it.
Okay, today I am doing the Diary of a Slave. The natives taken by the white slave traders. Dark as the skies on a moonless night, this is the color of our skin. Beautiful as the flowers on a spring day, this is the essence of my people. Black as black butterflies. Watch us as we sail across the waters. No more can we spread our wings, for we are bound in the shackles, deep in the hull of a ship, destined for our strange new world. Where shall we go? No longer be free. Just this morning, we were great chieftains, princesses, strong warriors, medicine men. Then a white man came with his gun, whips, and chains, and snatched us from our motherland, the land that we have known and loved all our lives, the land that made us what we are today. Oh, mother, dear motherland, will we ever see you welcoming shores again? Will we forever be hated race, not to be treated? Will we forever be a hated race, to be treated worse than all of God's creatures? Look at us now. Black butterflies jump from the ship into the deep, dark waters of the ocean, never to spread our wings or fly again, too frightened to face what little fate that thrust upon us. Black butterflies, bound and shackled, deep in the hull of a ship, so crowded, so full of filth and stench that some of us perish before we could reach the shore of the white man's world. Here is the ship that our ancestors crossed the water. And after, here's the ship that our ancestors crossed. They say the eyes are mirrors of the soul. Then look into these eyes and tell me what you see. Can you see the heartache, pain, disappointment, and the suffering that has taken my joy and scared away my soul, scarred away my soul? Scars so deep and tormented that never be healed. Look into these eyes, deep, tormented torture. Eyes full, tell me what you see. Can you see the long ago soul, full of love, life, and happiness? Now slowly but surely dwindling away, lost in the selfish, hellish pit of darkness. Look into these eyes, these tear-strained eyes. What do you see? Do you see the many, many tears shed down through the years for sadness that has been, the sadness yet to come? Look in these eyes. Tell me what you see. Don't be afraid. These are the eyes of humanity. On what is this I hear? Is this chattel, wagons, heavy laden with some rare commodity, never before seen by the eyes of the white man? As I listen, I hear words, I hear voices, many voices, some raised to great jubilation. Others cry out in despair. What is this that's causing much excitement? Then I hear a loud voice cry out, sold. But what could it be? Horses, cows, dogs, pigs? As I look closer and closer, I can see. No, it can't be. But yes, there they stand, heads bowed, down in sorrow, all their pride and their dignity stripped away, their wings gone. No longer can you see the beauty in their eyes, and they're cast down in fear and shame, too frightened to look at the strange white faces that were to become their masters, too ashamed to see what he has become, no longer be proud Black race from Africa, but a slave to a white man's world, to be sold on a white man's auction block. In a cold winter's morning, a man walked down a lonely road. While walking, he came upon a small, harmless snake lying half frozen on the ground. Being the brave man, being the brave man, let me say what master mean. Master, why did you bite me? I don't know it. I did not do it all that you means. Let me start. I was a snake when you picked me up. White master. I mean, master, did you bite me? Did I do all that you asked? Did I not do it willingly? Not because I was afraid of what you would do to me, but because I thought that you were kind of a loving master. Cruel master. Hear the master say, why do you strike out with such venom? You took away my wife, my husband, my children, leaving behind such pain and loneliness, leaving behind eyes no longer beautiful, but red and swollen from the crying hours of useless tears that face us as we once so black, so smooth, so aged, wrinkled and streaked with many, many tears that fell from once beautiful eyes. Oh, master, please, master, tell me now, why do you bite me? And the master replied, you know, I was your master when I bought you. How hot is the fire that burned the cotton field? How hot is the fire that burns deep within me? To be able to cast my eyes upon the cool, distant shores of my beloved motherland. How hot is the fire that burns within my soul? It is hot as the sun that burns in, parched my throat, make it difficult for me to see, for the sweat from my brow runs freely down my face, down my black face, into the beautiful eyes, down my cheeks, my chest, and onto the ground where I stand, where I am forced to work from early morn till late evening, work with only dim view of what the future holds. What does it hold? I can't see, for it's behind to pick I can't see, For as I bend to pick another handful of cotton, I am being blinded by burning sweat trickling down my face. While I work, pray, my Father in heaven is already preparing to deliver me from bondage, just like Moses and the children of Israel. While the sun burned down upon me, and the slave master stands above me with a whip in hand, I fall to my knees, cry out from the depths of my soul. But the slave master can't hear me, for my lips do not move. Oh Father, send Moses back to us. Let him go to the white man and say once again, Pharaoh, let my people go. Last night, as I lay in my bed, frightened and heavy burdened, I dreamed a dream where I was once free as the birds soaring through the skies, as free as the wind that blows upon the east to west, north to south, and the dream changed. I had fallen into the waters of the deep, dark ocean, alone struggling. Hello?
We were still waiting on you reading, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Hey, Janice, how you doing? Um, I think Vicki, you just only have a few more pages, right?
Right. Just a
You
few more
might,
pages. Huh?
you might well finish. So Janice, Vicki was first, then Talia, then me, then you.
Okay. Yeah,
Read
I
it.
just got a few more pages. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Last night, as I lay in my bed, frightened and heavy burdened, I dreamed a dream where I was once free as the birds soaring through the skies, as free as the wind that blows from the sea to the west, north to south. The dream changed. I had fallen out of the water of the deep, dark ocean, alone, struggling, fighting, and breathing what escaped from my lungs, fighting but sinking deeper into the shackles about my ankles were weighing down. Suddenly, I awoke not drowning in a dream, but drowning in sweat, glistening, drenching, my trembling body, my pillows soaked, not in the waters of the ocean, but soaked in the tears from my own eyes, body wrenching, sobbing, escaped my burning into the empty room to be heard only by my own tears, my own ears. Here I lay in my prison bed, crying tears of hate, tears of frustration, tears of determination, a new determination. No more shall I dream out of torture. No longer shall I be prisoner of the white sun moves across the sky. I will break my shackles, break my chains, and before the sun sets, I would have thrown myself into the vast ocean of hatred and despair, and I shall swim, I shall struggle of the freedom that was once mine and of the body that does make it, and my soul shall. What is this that makes you look at me? Such hatred that forces you to make me work in the heat of the day without giving me a moment of rest to cool myself. What is this that drives you to make me clean your house, cook your food, care for your children, while you sell me away highest bidder? What forces you to do this? Drive you to chain me to the whipping post and beat me until my skin is raw, bleeding whips in pain, and life slowly ebbing from my body, death reaching to embrace me only to be snatched back into the endless, to embrace me only to be snatched back into the force that is making you hate me so. Did I commit some terrible crime against you that I don't know about? Was it a crime that I was born Black? If so, then it wasn't a crime that you were born white. If so, then wasn't it a crime that you were born white? What is this causing you to treat me so? Then a small voice cried out, power. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Look at us now. Our Father in heaven has heard our cries. We are finally able to rejoice freely on our own. Church is free, live on our own homes without the fear of being dragged away and sold in auction block. Hallelujah, praise God. No longer slave traders, no masters. Look how far we've come. Not yet to where we should strive to be, but no longer from where our grandparents were. Hallelujah. Praise God. Look at us now. Eyes bright, skins radiant, souls happy, brighter future. Hallelujah. 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 Niggas, the new meaning. Don't call me nigga unless you be a nigga. Webster says a nigga is poor, low-class person. That ain't me, because I am a member of the proud Black race with dreams and aspirations. So unless you are a nigga, you can't call me this, because a nigga knows where a nigga comes from. A nigga knows that nigga knows the struggle of a nigga. A nigga knows where a nigga is going. A nigga is Black on the right track. Don't take no smack. A nigga is smooth. He's cool. Does well at school. A nigga is strong. He's full of passion. He is the pure, unadulterated essence and love in all Black fashion. Yes, I am a nigga. You can't say this to me, because in order to call me where then, nigga, you got to be. The end.
Vicki,
I like that part.
the poet came out at the end.
I like
They
that
had some
part.
verses for us. Look, let me ask you this. Give us a summary of what you just read. Because
Well,
the
basically
character
what
is
it
something
is-
about prison and then slavery.
Well, what the summary I read is how we came from our people. We came from Africa to the white man's land. How we were shackled and brought to the land. How we were sold at auctions, put into slavery, chains and shackles, and the history of how we succumbed, how we became free. And you can't call me a nigga unless you be a nigga.
Yeah, that was
but yes,
lot
that's
of
the
rhyming.
history. That what now?
He was rhyming. He was rapping.
I'm so happy that that was shared because I have trouble with that particular word when I hear my people refer to themselves as that
Yeah.
and calmly say it without thinking about history, just prone to say it. So when I heard you reading about that, it meant a lot to me because I know that there is still miseducation of the Negro. And why would I even want to refer to myself or my friend or whoever that person may be within my race as that word? I've just had trouble with it from a child to age 70. Don't understand why there is such comfort. When I went to work on my master's at Eastern Illinois University, one of my professors, and they were all white males, talked to me about that word. And what came out of his mouth, which I knew was true, was that some called themselves that. And of course, me being like I am, defended my race because I was not going to admit to that Caucasian male that he was telling the truth about it. But he definitely was telling the truth. And so to hear us say that word like it's nothing, just flowing off the tongue and easily saying it and nobody should be disturbed about, that disturbs me diligently. So I thank you, Vicki, for sharing that.
And
Yeah.
as you saw that, I caught my attention because that was when I first read it. I said, okay, and that's why Meredith said that I was cool when I said it. But yeah,
Mhm,
Look, yeah, and Janice, our code is we can say it to each other, but you better not call me. That's our code.
Yes, I've often heard that too. It's okay to say it within whoever we are, but don't you, the outsider, say. I don't want to say it either way.
Yeah,
Now, because
I know
that's just a low down, dirty person, that word, that N word, just whoever
Yeah.
it is, white or black or Chicano or whatever. And so for the confusion there within the race, not understanding. And I'm not saying that all don't understand, but there are many who I believe wouldn't let that come off their tongues if they really did understand the nature of the word and how it came about.
Right.
You see, because we were referred to by the Spaniards as negra, which means black, negra.
Yeah.
And then you know the meaning, the two of you on down the line, it just got into whatever the minds of the races wanted to call us.
Right.
And it continues to this day. And our people keep joining into the nonsense. This is me thinking, you see, me thinking. So I guess I need to write a poem about it too.
Get the pen and the paper, write your piece on there. Talianne, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any comments?
Today I'm be reading Trouble at Table 5, the Candy Capper by Tom Washington.
Hold it up, Talianne, so I can type it in the chat. Okay, Trouble at Table 5. I get it.
Okay. Chapter 1. Things get stuck in my head. I'm Molly. I get things stuck in my head sometimes. I give you a few examples. This morning I had Fruit Loops for breakfast. Fruit Loops come in 6 different colors, like red, orange, yellow, green, and purple, and blue. And I poured the dry seed into my bowl. I took the purple ones and green ones out. That because purple and green remind me of grapes. And I really don't like grapes because they come in bunches and like hard to tell how many are in a bunch. I like to know how many things there are. That's just me. So I only had red and blue and orange and yellow Fruit Loops in my bowl. I ate all the blue ones first. It's kind of hard to get only blue Fruit Loops out of your bowl, but it's worth it. When I only had red and orange and yellow Fruit Loops left, I just ate them all. They can be mixed up. Because red and yellow makes orange, so those Fruit Loops are allowed to be together. See what I mean? Oh, I also be done until I knew all the Fruit Loops were gone. I needed to know that there was one hiding beneath the milk at the bottom of the bowl. I sort of splashed my own spoon in the milk to make sure there wasn't one left. My dad asked, "Molly, what are you doing?" "I'm making sure there are no more Fruit Loops in my bowl," I answered. "It's important." This made perfectly good sense to my dad. Both my parents understood me very well. So do Rosie and Sam. They are my 2 best friends. Here's a few more quick examples. The socks in my sock drawer are folded flat, then they are not rolled up in ball. Flat things are not supposed to be rolled up. Also, if I started a book, I can't read anything else until I finish that book. I can read a different book or a magazine or a comic book. I have to finish that book first. And my pillow needs to be in a center order before I get into bed. That needs to be just like this. Red on the top, red on the bottom, pink on the top, right rectangle, red squish, and pink square. It's just who I am. Now I'm going to tell you about something that gets stuck in my head last week at school. Mr. Wendell asked me to take the attendance slip into the main office. It is a piece of paper he filled out after they take an attendance in the morning. I went to the office and turned the slip to Mrs. Wolfhoffner. We just call her Mrs. B. "Here's the attendance slip, Mrs. B," I said, and I handed it to her. Thanks, Molly," she said, and took it from me. She put it on the top of the stack of the attendance slips from the other class. "You're welcome," I asked. But right then I turned to leave, something caught my eye. Something in Principal Shelton's office. Her office is off to the side of the main office. It has a door with a window. There was something colorful in her office. On her desk, it was a big jar, and it stuck in my head. Chapter 1 down, off to get a great start. Chapter 2. I hustled back to Mr. Wendell's class and sat down at our table. I shared table 5 in the back with Simon and Rose. Rosie said. Rosie is a nickname for Rose. "What?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she poked Simon with her elbow and nodded her head in my direction. Simon looked at me. Simon is a nickname for anything. It's just Simon. He said, "Oh no." They nodded at each other and then looked at me some more. "What?" I asked again. Rosie said, "There's something going on with you." "No, there's not." Yes, there is, Simon said. What is it? Nothing, I asked, even though I knew there really was something. There was one of the moment Rosie said, we can see it from your eyes. No, I'm not. Yes, you are, Molly, Simon said. We've seen this look in like a million times. It's exactly the same look you got before we jumped into a leaf pile a few weeks ago. Every single leaf. Seriously, Rosie appealed. Just tell us. Okay, I said. I knew there was right. This thing was not going to get out of my head. There is a mason jar in Principal Sheldon's desk. It's the kind of the jar of my mama used to make the raspberry jam. She gave us the jam out at Christmas. What's so special about the jar on Principal Sheldon's desk? I asked Simon. It's full with Skittles. And Rosie said, I want to know how many Skittles are in the jar. I whispered. I had to be quiet because Mr. Window doesn't like talking. I even seen Simon get in trouble enough to know that. He can be a total chatterbox sometimes. Mr. Window has even called Simon's parents before, and I definitely didn't want that to happen to me. I need to know how many Skittles are in that jar. We can't speak into the principal's office, dumping all a bunch of Skittles and count them and then put them back without anyone noticing. Rosie said, we totally get caught. And totally suspended, Simon added. I need to know, I said. It's one thing to jump into the leaves until every single leaf in that yard is in the pillow, Molly? Rosie said, shake her head. And then another leaf falls. We have to stop jumping. Go get that leaf and add it to the pile. But this is different, Simon agreed. Way different. All I said was, I need to know. This could mean like getting into serious trouble at school. Rosie said, still shaking her head. And at home, added Simon, I need to know. Rosie looked at Simon. Simon looked at Rosie. They both looked at me, and we're good friends, best friends even. They even knew they knew me, but they knew nothing would change my mind. You need to know, Simon said. I need to know. Okay, Rosie said. She swirled her hair around her left index finger. I knew this wasn't a good sign. There's good to need a plan. But we could come with a Skittle snatcher and count. Right then. That because Mr. Winnow was already walking towards us. Table 5, he said in his voice a little louder. Then you quiet down. Everybody get their composition books out. Lunchtime, I whispered. Lunchtime, Rosie and Simon whispered back in Angela. Chapter 3, The Gold Cigarette. Rosie, Simon, and I sat at the table farthest away from the food and farthest away from everybody else. Lunch was grilled cheese, tater tots, and apple slices, and a chocolate chip cookie. I count all my tater tots. There were 11. So I gave Simon 3. I like to eat warm things in even numbers and never double digits. So for your tater tots, I could eat 2, 4, 6, or 8. And I was hungry, so I choose 8. I eat evening numbers for the cold things too. But double digit doesn't matter for cold things. I had 7 apple slices and I gave 1 to Rosie and I had put some of my food on Rosie's and Simon's tray for a couple of years now. So they barely even notice anybody comes with a plan to count. The Skittles, I asked in a low voice. Wasn't quiet a whisper? There wasn't anyone around us. Not yet, Rosie answered. I thought of something Simon said. It kind of a bad idea though, but I think there's no bad ideas, Rosie said. Okay, here goes. Excuse me. Simon said after that. When Simon talks about something, he excited about it, and excited it can be kind of strange. His head is a bit to the left and gets the glazer look in his eyes. Once he get going, he talks faster and faster, and it's hard for him to stop. We need to get Principal Shelton out of her office, Simon began after a title in his head and gets the look in his eyes. And I was thinking there must be a reason why she has all those Skittles on her desk. She must love Skittles. I mean, she doesn't have Tootsie Rolls or Nerds or Sour Patch Kids on her desk, right? Right, Rosie says slowly. She sounds a little suspicious. She loves Skittles, Simon repeated. So we go to the store after school and buy a pack of Skittles. Then we tear it open real carefully, like, number 1, go to the store. Number 2, buy a pack of Skittles. Number 3, open the Skittles. Number 4, design a print with the golden ticket. Number 5, slip the golden ticket inside. And number 3, glue to close it again. And done. When we go to the pack open and we slip in a gold ticket, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we can design it on my mom's computer, and they print it out. We have a color print. After that, interesting. The ticket we glue the Skittle pack back up and then put it on her desk the next day. What the ticket say? I asked. Simon told us proudly. Congratulations, you have won a free trip to the Skittle Factory in Miami, Florida. Must leave now. Then, when she leaves, the hard part's done, he said. With her office empty, Molly just needs to sneak in, through the window or the heater vent or whatever, dump out the Skittles and start counting the easy stuff. Simon, Rosie said slowly. You know how I said there are no bad ideas? Yeah, he said until his head. Rosie giggled and snorted of a bad idea? Yeah, Simon said. His feels wasn't hurting or anything, I know. I just thought I'll throw it out there. Get the conversation started. I don't think she ever fall for it. But you're right about a lot of stuff. I said I don't think Simon wants to feel discouraged. I need to get into her office and get out of there. Then the bell rang. Does one of y'all want my chocolate chip cookie? I asked. Don't you want it, Rosie replied. No, I said and shook my head. It's impossible to tell how many chocolate chip cookies are inside. All right, Rosie said. I forgot. It takes it if Simon doesn't want it. Simon was cool. He can talk about the plan after school, I said, and I put my cookie on Rosie's tray. And I reach across the table and grab Rosie's left hand and Simon's right hand, and we have to come up with something. I have to get those Skittles out of my head. And I'm gonna start right there because next chapter is chapter 4.
Okay. You read the first two chapters, Talia?
Yes, ma'am.
And I was wanting to know what was the trouble at table 5 and where was table 5? If that's in a school, was that in a where was it? The table.
That was in school. And Molly, she wanted to know how many Skittles are in that jar. She wanted to know really, really bad. So instead, they went to the store, get a pack of Skittles, open the Skittles carefully, and print a ticket. And I said, "Congratulations! You wanted to go to the Skittle factory in Miami, Florida. You must go now." Then they was thinking how Molly's gonna be able to get the jar since she's left, but they think she's going through the door or go into the heater vent.
Yeah, so what was the trouble? The trouble was they were trying to find out how many Skittles was in the jar.
Yes, and they was trying not to get in trouble or get expelled or get their parents called.
Oh, okay, I see. But all this took place at school in the classroom, or where was the tables?
The table was inside the classroom because they was learning mathematics, and then they was about to do Spanish and English and language arts.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that.
You're
Okay, so I'm still on Brave as You by Jason Reynolds. A family of 4 went to Virginia to the grandparents' house. That's the father's parent. And yesterday, they found out that their grandfather was blind. So I read first chapter, first 3 days of this reading fair, and now I'm starting on chapter 2. What made Grandpa blind? I bet it was the bright sun that almost blinded me and Ernie this morning. What does blindness feel like? And is it just blackness? Is it like being asleep but awake? Like sleepwalking? Is Grandpa just sleepwalking and sleep talking and sleep eating? And if he's really awake, is he really sleeping? I heard if you put a blanket over a bird's cage, and they can't tell it's daytime anymore, they'll just go to sleep. Well, this is the first time I ever heard that one. Why you, wait a minute, why you ain't tell me he couldn't see? Jenny asked as his mother's zip closed the little pouch she kept her toothpaste and toothbrush and lotion. He had taken the red truck off the old blue dresser and was sitting on the floor, running his thumb over the wheels. Next to him, of course, was his handy notebook. He had lots of questions. Most important one he had just asked, why you ain't tell me he couldn't see? And that was a question that needed to be asked out loud. Your grandpa is a tricky man, baby, Mom began to explain. But then she got hung up and didn't seem to know what else to say. So she looked at Dad. Senior, she growled, snapping Dad out of his trance. Senior was what she called him because his name was Ernie too. She wanted to make sure that whichever Ernie she was yelling at any given moment would know she was yelling at him and not the other. Yeah, yes, Dad, Stamble. She just sort of zoned out. You are right, she asked. Yeah, yeah, what's up? Ma cocked her head to the side. Would you explain to our youngest son here why we didn't tell him about Grandpa? Dad looked at Jenny and said, well, he's kind of a wild guy, Jenny. Not wild, Jenny, Ma interrupted. Just interesting. Right, Dad agreed quickly. We weren't trying to keep anything from you. It's just that he made me promise a long time ago never to tell anyone he was blind. No one, not even you. It's something he likes to do himself after he meets the person. That's why that way they don't just come into our house thinking of him as well handicapped, disabled, Mom. But yes, I mean disabled. That's the one thing he hates the most. Dad slid over to the corner of his bed, close to Jenny. Grandpa doesn't like, you know, help. Jenny drew his knees up. His legs were starting to go numb, and Dad noticed red chunk in his hand. Be careful with that, son, he said, holding out his hand for the truck. Wood made this, and it's the only thing from his childhood grandma has left. It means the world to her. Dad peered at the truck as if he could see Uncle Wood sitting in the driver's seat. It's clearly meant something to him as well. Forget Wood was a model guy, just like you. He shook his head. Crazy. He gave the truck back to Jimmy. Jenny, you couldn't help but think about what other things he and Uncle Wood might have had in common. But Dad brought him back to the top of your hand. Anyway, about your grandfather, Ernie got a heck of a surprise too when he visited the first time. Dad looked to Ernie, lay sprawled on the other bed, clicking away on his phone. What you doing, Ernie? Trying to send this message, but it won't go through. Ernie stared at the screen in disgust. He had broken up with his girlfriend Keisha a few weeks before. Well, really, she broke up with him, dumped him for a dude named Flatbush, from Flatbush named Dante, but everybody called him Two Train. That was his rap name. And when Keisha told Ernie that Two Train wrote raps about her, Ernie started sending her a text message every day, crappy love poems, ridiculous attempts at rhyming that would put his whole cool thing at risk if anybody besides he, Jenny, or his parents ever found out about it. Dad laughed, text, don't bother. No service out here, son, and no computer, my father. Ernie finally looked up, an insane expression on his face. No service, no computer. This was bad news, bad news. And not just for Ernie, but for Jenny too. How was he going to let look stuff up now? He added at least 16 new questions to his notebook since breakfast, mostly about being blind. Now, what was he going to do? Jenny liked to Google everything. So you might as well put that thing down and let her go, Ma advised. She wasn't good enough for you anyway. Good luck with Two Train, sweetheart. Ma swatted the air, shooing the memory of Ernie's ex-girlfriend away. What kind of rap music is Two Train anyway? I'm gonna stop right there and now let you go, Jen.
Okay. This book is Aretha, the Queen of Soul.
That's the name of it.
Yes. And it's by Meredith Oakes, O-C-H-S.
Okay.
Meredith Oakes. I wonder if you're related to that.
She spelled the M-E-R-E.
Yes. M-E-R-E-D-I-T-H.
Just like me, yeah.
Meredith Oakes. And it says on the back, there's a reason Aretha Franklin is called the Queen of Soul and will never be dethroned. In this stunningly illustrated unofficial retrospective, award-winning radio personality, author, and musician Meredith Oakes celebrates Franklin from her formative and later years in Detroit to her illustrious music career to her numerous honors, awards, and causes, including her advocacy for civil rights. It's a moving tribute and keepsake for all Aretha fans. Of course, I'm a longtime fan of Aretha Franklin.
Me too now.
Like many, I grew up with her music and continued until her death. Pardon?
The back of the cover, isn't that what she wore at Barack Obama's inauguration? What she saw? Is that the outfit she wore to his inauguration?
Well, this back is mentioning the number of things that she did in terms of her musical career. So the book itself speaks from beginning to the end of her musical career.
That's a book for fans right there.
Yes, Aretha.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So this book actually speaks about her life in terms of photographs. Lots of photographs about her. Like this hat in terms of her having sung during Obama's administration.
Yeah.
And how it ended up in the museum. And what is that? Smithsonian Institute, I think is the institute where it is. But so many people admired the hat. And of course, went out and found what they could in close resemblance of the hat. In the introduction, a force that can light a room is what the title is. As an artist, Aretha Franklin is loved and revered, though many fans don't grasp the full scope of her musical genius. Her voice is evident, an octave leaping mezzo-soprano capable of dizzying melismatic runs. Mostly self-taught, Aretha played by ear with the kind of perfect pitch that allowed her to recreate anything she heard, note for note, before she reached grade school. She didn't really read music and didn't need it to record songs before she reached, and didn't need it to record songs. The breadth of her musical knowledge was astonishing. So brilliant were her piano skills that pianists like Elton John proclaimed her to be a favorite. She was a master of phrasing and improvisation, toying with rhythm, vamping with spontaneous lyrics and scatting, taking songs where no one else could. Her vocal pyrotechnics never obscuring her soulful delivery. Everything she sang, and she pretty much sang everything, including gospel, blues, R&B, jazz, pop, hip hop, opera, country, folk resonated with that elusive quality. It's like electricity. We don't really know what it is, but it's a force that can light a room, Ray Charles said, attempting to define the word soul. There's a reason she was called the Queen of Soul and will never be dethroned. For music royalty, however, Aretha was distinctly down home, as Smokey Robinson and many others who knew her observed. She rarely gave interviews and sometimes didn't appear at all. When she did, she was often covered in sequins, jewels, and furs, yet she was of the people. She loved to cook and did so for friends, family, collaborators, and writers visiting her at home. On television shows like Live with Kelly and Michael and Oprah, and with the domestic diva herself, Martha Stewart. Though a reserved conversationalist, she spoke in vernacular that made it clear she had an ear to the street. The album titled Who's Zooming Who was something she casually said while talking on the phone with producer Narada Michael Walden about checking out guys and vice versa in a nightclub. She was hip. She had a sense of what the public wanted to hear that enabled her nearly 6 decades of artistic reinvention and influence. And she was funny, a trait she rarely exhibited, but that was evident at sporadic moments when she joked with her band on stage or during informal chats or in her film and television cameos. The Queen had a wry, skeptical eye on the world, but once you got her laughing, you were in. Dan Aykroyd, her co-star in the Blues Brothers movie, said, a skilled impressionist, she reserved her best for close friends and family off stage, but occasionally included a diva medley in her act, nailing the vocal styles and facial expressions of her contemporaries like Mavis Staples and Gladys Knight, even donning an electric pink marabou coat to mimic the frequently feathered Diana Ross. Aretha was also habitually and quietly generous. From her 1960s tour with Harry Belafonte to help fund Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, to the numerous benefit concerts she played and donations she made throughout the decades, to offering hotel rooms and food to Flint families during their water crisis. She retained the notion of charity from her religious upbringing. The church shaped her life early on, and it remained a fundamental part of who she was. Her family followed the preaching career of its patriarch, Reverend C.L. Franklin, moving from Memphis, Tennessee, where Aretha was born in 1942, to Buffalo, New York, and then to Detroit, Michigan. Her father's philandering led her mother, Barbara Siggers, herself a gifted singer, back to Buffalo when Aretha was 6, leaving C.L. Franklin a single dad. Siggers' 1952 death had a devastating effect on the 4 kids, especially Aretha. After her mama died, the whole family wanted for love, Mahalia Jackson said. Music, however, was Aretha's salvation and doctrine, And it put her on the road from the time she was 12, singing in churches and arenas around the country to warm up the crowd for her famous father's impassioned sermons. Throughout the 1950s, she experienced the impact of segregation and Jim Crow, the restaurants and hotels that wouldn't accept Black patrons or allow them restroom access, and the information network by which they found places where they'd be welcomed, such as Gulf service stations. We didn't buy gas where we could not use the restrooms, she explained. She perceived the power of her father's magnetism, along with the freewheeling lifestyle of touring musicians, its paradoxical relationship to religion, and how to inhabit both worlds. In every way, there was only one outcome for Aretha: gifted with preternatural talent, scarred by loss, deeply moved by a sense of social justice, growing up around her country's most active civil rights leaders and some of its greatest musicians. She, the Queen of Soul, was going to be a legend. And of course, we can see the determination in this photograph. Part 1 covers Detroit.
Did it say what the year of those two photographs?
No, it doesn't. Let me go back. I don't think I saw. Yes, 1967. This is Aretha in 1967.
Okay.
And Detroit, maybe we'll learn as I read on. This portrait is 1964.
Hold up a little more.
Pardon?
No, shut your
1964.
Okay.
Okay. Detroit's #1 daughter. Before the world knew her by her first name, she was Riri, peering from the second-floor bedroom window of her family's Detroit home to catch a glimpse of whoever was walking up the path to visit her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin. While he entertained, she'd sit at the top of the staircase, sometimes with sisters Irma and Carolyn or brother Cecil, listening to the adults converse and music being played. If it was very late and she'd already fallen asleep, her dad might wake her and bring her downstairs to sing for company. Company often meant luminaries: civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., jazz piano great Art Tatum, gospel icon Mahalia Jackson, soul stirrer turned secular singer Sam Cooke, and countless more were friends and cohorts of the Reverend, whose fame had transcended the ecumenical world. Charismatic and progressive, Franklin was already making a name for himself when he was brought to Detroit to lead the new Bethel Baptist Church in 1946. His sermons were enthralling, providing African-American congregants much needed inspiration during the Great Migration and the long struggle for equality. During his years as a preacher in Memphis and Buffalo, he'd used radio as a medium, reaching out to a broader audience via his own show. In his newly adopted city, he became a recording artist. When local indie record pioneer Joe Von Battle began pressing Franklin's sermons on vinyl for his JVB label, the Reverend star rose further. Von Battle's record store and studio were on Hastings Street in the part of town known as Black Bottom, named for its fertile topsoil when it was mostly farms, a flourishing African-American business and entertainment district. He recorded numerous locals, including John Lee Hooker, after the influential bluesman had relocated to Detroit to work at the Ford Motor Company. Hooker is standing in front of the Hastings Street store on the cover of his 1993 album, the legendary Modern Recordings 1948 to 1954. The Reverend's album sold well, sometimes outpacing the blues artists, and demand grew to other cities. Within the decade, Von Battle would be recording Aretha as well. The Franklin family first landed in Detroit's North End on Boston Boulevard, a stately stretch of road with a grassy tree-lined median at the corner of Oakland. Compared to most of the area, it was a mansion. And so this page goes on and talks about that. Here is Aretha with her first husband, White. This is her first husband, White. And of course, Ted White. Ted White has been recorded, I think he's still living, but he has been recorded throughout history as having been a pimp, that Aretha married the pimp. And I don't know if you have seen
I saw
the two versions of the movies about Aretha.
Yeah.
But he's shown there, the two of them in characterizations are shown in an abusive relationship. So the story goes that Aretha struggled with that. And of course, this is the same person whose parents didn't make it over time, early on when Aretha was around 6, I think this book is saying. And of course, Aretha longed for her mother. And not long after she and the husband didn't make it, she and Reverend Franklin did not make it, the mother passed. I forgot what was the reason for that, but the mother did pass at a young age. Her mother was a singer herself, and the mother encouraged Aretha just as much as the father did, but the parents just did not make it themselves. And so I'll just stop with that because it's so interesting. I could go on and read every page. I'll stop with that because a lot has been said here in these few pages I did share.
Well, let me ask you this. Her father, he had a recording studio. Is that what you just read?
Well, yes, he was very popular. And I think with all of that reaching out in terms of civil rights and so forth, and allowing the artist Sam Cooke and others in his home, Mahalia Jackson, Aretha, young child, along with her 3 siblings, were watching all of this. And so this is really the life of Aretha Franklin is very fascinating to me, very interesting, because I'm looking at a child who had 2 children, one at age 12 and I think the other at age 14, but was still seeing all these things around her, this world around her. And then with her mama being gone, in terms of the strain in the family dynamics, all of these things fused into her. And then over time, though she loved her dad, she also was rebellious. Do you realize at one point that Aretha was arrested? I don't know why she was arrested, but I did read somewhere in some article a few years ago that Aretha had been arrested, but the article didn't say why she was arrested. So it could have been a fight with Ted White, but she was arrested at one point. She loved her father, but she also was rebelling against her father, perhaps because of the mother not being in the home. You see, that type of thing. And so she was on the wild side, but she loved the singing. She loved the gospel, loved to direct the people in the church, be part of that, learn the music on her own, playing the piano, and could do the notes well. And over time, as she continued to progress, she began to teach her orchestras and the different ones who were playing for her to follow her lead. And so she's always been a firster, just the firster, very talented. I think she just has, I don't know if she finished high school, but she has some kind of high school education, never went to college. And so Tyler Ann, this lets us know that we can do whatever we want to do. We can do whatever. And she had lots of mentors in the world of music. But she struggled as well with her values as a person who was trying to do right, but at the same time, there were some problems with the relationship she got herself in. And then with the father and the 13-year-old, I won't go into that in terms of our young person here. But she had some kind of life. That's what I'm trying to paint the picture of. Yeah. And James Cleveland was one of her mentors, who was guiding her in the world of music and encouraging her, because she didn't speak much in public. Now, we probably all remember that, how the people were trying to get her to talk. She didn't really talk much in public. She did not share much of her life. And so what did leak out about the fight with her and Ted White, she promised herself, I read somewhere way back, that she would never reveal on her own anything about her personal life. And that's why people would ask her about those songs she would be singing. Are you in a relationship now? And how is it? And she would just simply say, it's fine. And she wouldn't say anymore.
I know, but she was really a genius. And she, in her art, she was really the queen of soul. She was just great. And I mean, aside from the personal, she was a diva.
Yeah, she was a little diva.
I thought you read that her father had a studio. That's what I was asking. Did he have a music studio?
It did say something here.
It said something about
I read about him.
That even his sermons were put on wax. I mean, that's for the big time. They put sermons on TV now, but if he was getting his put on wax, I had never heard of that before. Did you read that? Did you read
what now?
That they put his sermons on wax.
On wax.
Like an album. Did I hear you read that?
Oh, well, I just remember the one sermon of, they played it so much during my childhood. A Knock at Midnight, I think was what it was. Well, the eagle, there were two. When the eagle stirs its nest. And he was just a powerful, popular preacher. Powerful, popular preacher. And I guess looking at a lot of the people out there doing, we admire what they do in terms of their talent, their abilities. I think sometimes about Whitney Houston and how we just flock to that singing, and it's like we don't want to part from the singing, and we hate what happened to their lives, that type of thing. We hate it, but we feel that we're a part of them because we loved the music. And we don't want to hear the negativity about their lives, but we loved their music. And so Aretha was one.
Your music is something that gets into your heart.
Yes,
and that's
yes,
why the fan base are drawn so to the musicians. And you think of Joe Jackson, he was strict and all of this, but Joe Jackson is he is the meat behind that the Jackson 5 becoming great, because he exemplified the process of practice makes perfect. And that's what made Michael such a genius, because he started so young, and she started young, and she was around all of these people. Of course, the influence in her village, there was a lot of people in her village, but but she became great in her craft. She was, queen of soul, just like the author put it. No one could ever unthrone her.
Yes, that's right. And Clive Davis said at the funeral, the homegoing, there will never be another Aretha. And I agree with him there, because it dawned on me that she really had, in my opinion, a perfect voice. I said one day to myself, when I was listening, I said, nobody can beat her singing. Nobody can beat. And then the Rolling Stone came out, and the magazine said she was the best singer. And that's what I had already concluded, that I hadn't heard a voice as golden as that, and so natural and sweet, and whatever the singing would be.
Yeah, say a little prayer. My grandmother loved that song. And even that is one of the few songs that can actually bring a tear to my eye. I mean, she sings with that kind of power. That's powerful. So, they say if an author can write something and bring a tear to your eye, that's at the top of the craft. And you got here, so she's a musician that could bring emotion. And Whitney Houston, that's why she was so loved. Same way.
Yeah.
They just that's just powerful. And I know we have a child on here. And Talia, whatever you want to do, be great, be the best. And practice makes perfect. And that's why Aretha Franklin can't be unthroned. She was a genius in her craft. She might not have finished high school, went to college, all that, but she had a PhD in music.
And the songs were her life. They were her life. They were the sum total of Aretha Franklin. How she lived just her life. And when she returned back into the church in terms of the world of gospel and getting on, you could see the secular and the religious just going to. I've never seen an artist who could come out on stage and sing the worldly, and then in the same breath come out with Amazing Grace, and we're all going to heaven because that was her life. That was her life. And I really think she was struggling all her life in terms of trying to find peace within. And we respected her. Ministers, whoever they were, we all respected Aretha. No matter what the race, there was something about her. She just had a command of the skills, and she could go away with them.
Whitney Houston could sing both gospel and hip hop and R&B as well. And Aretha Franklin was in her village. So, it's all interesting, but I guess we better let Charlie Ann read now, because it's her time. Because we talking about something that Aretha Franklin, boy, I tell you, her life was
and
so
I can see her going on. Because when I mentioned yesterday that I want her to be in the spoken word choir, I meant it. I'm going to talk to her mama. I meant it because I could see some things that I had not seen before. I knew that she was the founder of the Community Library of Mississippi, but I saw a different type of reading there on yesterday. I could just see so many things. So I got to talk to her mama soon.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's talent right there, and to me, this is fabulous. When you have children and adults that are reading and we're learning from each other, because these are all teachable moments. This is a village, and I think it's a positive. So, one day Talia might be telling somebody about her village.
Right. She might be in your spot. But she can take your spot, but she'll go further, She'll be going on just like Plato moving beyond Socrates. So if that's what it's all about.
That would be great.
The mentoring process is dynamic. And you see Thailand moving on because she's a strong command of the English language. At age 11? I could see so much there yesterday. And I want to be one of the ones to push her on because I know she can do this spoken word choir. I know she can.
Yeah. Okay, Thailand, you ready?
Chapter 4. Do you have any flip-flops? Simon, Rosie, and I either ride our bikes or walk to school together. This was a walking day, so this was the perfect time to work on our plan. So where we're going? Rosie asked. We were trying to come up with a way to get into Principal Shelton's office, I said. That's step 1. Step 2 is to get Sheldon out of the office when I get there. And step 3 is to count the skills. Okay, let's talk on one step. Step 1. Rosie said, we need to think about the logos. Why do students go to the principal's office? It's usually when somebody gets in trouble, I answered. That's it then, Simon said. You just need to get in trouble. I don't know how, I said. Actually, past the mailbox on the corner. I've never been in trouble before. I get good grades. I don't skip class, and I always help the decorations for the school play. What should I do? Simon had a lot of ideas. You could let all the pets out loose, and he said quickly. There would be turtles, hamsters, and bunnies everywhere. Or you can start a food fight. Throw a handful of French fries across the cafeteria, squirt with ketchup and on everybody's heads. I said trying to interval, but Simon was on a roll. Or you could go into the bathroom, unroll the toilet paper and wrap it around the school. He went on and walked backwards in front of me and Rosie as he told. Step 1, get in trouble. Free the class pet. Step 2, start a food fight. Or step 3, wrap the school around with. Or you could crumble 100 of pieces of paper and fill a bunch of lockers with them. Then when people open their lockers, there is a lot of torn pieces of paper pouring out of them at them. Or you could turn on the sink at Mrs. Brule's science room and plug and plug the dryer and flood the school. Or you can, Simon, Rosie interrupt. Yeah? How do you come up with all these ideas? I'm just really clever, I guess. Okay, those are all great suggestions. I said there was something Simon said that sparked an idea in me. It was right at the edge of my mind, and I knew it was considerate. I can forget it. Listen, you give me an idea. I think I'll use the toilet paper. Not quite the way you suggested, but I'll use it and to get into trouble. So I'll take care of step one, get into the principal's office. Now we need to take care of step two. She stopped on the sidewalk, at the end of my driveway. Once Molly is in, we have to get Principal Shannon out of the office. She tore her hair around her left index finger. She does it when she's thinking. Rosie is super smart. Simon and I are not the to interrupt her. It took her about 30 seconds to come up with a solution. Okay, Molly, we'll be inside, Rosie said, lifting her hand to look at Simon and me. Simon, it's our job to get Principal shut out of her office. How? Asked Simon. But instead of answering Simon's question, she asked him something. Instead, she said, do you have any flip-flops? Why would I need flip-flops? Rosie pointed towards my house and said, I'll tell you inside. You read 4 chapters, that's 2,380 words. Chapter 5. It's not weird, it's awesome. Rosie sat at the kitchen table with Simon. She could see the confusion on our face. We had no idea what her plan was. Don't worry about it, Rosie said. I got it. Simon and I will take care of step 2, getting Principal Shannon up her office. And Molly, you sure you can take care of step 1, getting into trouble? I'm sure, I said as I put 3 pieces of bread into the toaster. I'm going to use toilet paper. Guilty. Are you okay with getting into trouble? Simon asked. No, I'm definitely not okay with it and getting into trouble, I explained and shook my head. But the choice that I have, I need to know how many Skittles are in that jar. That's way more important. Okay, then. The only these steps is 3. Count those Skittles, Rosie said. She scrambled her mouth to the side a little bit. She was sort of talking to herself as much as to us, and she twirled her hair again. How can we do that? The part should be easy. Simon said, with Principal Shelton gone, Molly just dumped it out the drawer and started counting, right? No, Rosie said and shook her head. Step 2, get Sheldon out of her office, but I don't know how long she'll be gone. Plus, there's going to be people hanging around outside the office, Mrs. B, or somebody else. Right? Simon agreed. Molly needs to find a way to count those Skittles already really fast. I don't know. I can't, I said, picturing the jar on Principal Shelton desk. I forgot a jar of my mom's homemade raspberry jam from the fridge. There must be 100 in that jar. Rosie snapped her fingers, and she can snap extra loud. We could get a separate amount, something smaller, and Rosie said, explain her idea. She's good at math, like really good. We could get a telephone cup or something. we could go buy Skittles and see how many we could fit in a cup. How would that work? I asked. I gave Simon and Rosie each a piece of toaster and set the rest of them on the table. Well, let's say 127 fit into the cup. Rosie said, use your empty hand. Let's pretend that pouring Skittles into that jar, into the phone cups. Then we have the alone in Shelton office. You can just see how many times it takes to fill the cup. Like maybe you can fill the cup 3 times and then there's 14 left over. How many Skittles? So 1 cup with filled with Skittles is 127. But put all each Skittles in 127, count that all together. 127 times 3 equals 381 plus 14 equals 395. That would be 127 3 times, which is 381 plus 14, and will be 395. That would be very fast. That would be way faster than counting 395 Skittles individually. And how do you do math so fast? Asked Simon, spreading jam on his toaster. I don't know, Rosie asked. I'm weird, I guess. Simon said, it's not weird, it's awesome. Some things about Rosie's idea didn't work for me, and I guess she could tell Rosie. What is it? It just sounds very interesting. I said I wiped some raspberry from the corner of my mouth. My raspberry is really good, but it's sticky. I mean, it would be the same number of Skittles in the cup every time. Some things it will be in 127, but other things might be 129 or 118. There's no way they'll be exact same, Simon said. But you will know there are pretty close to 395 Skittles in that jar. You don't want to pretty close, right? Pretty close, Rosie asked. Right, I confirmed. I have to know the exact number, otherwise, what's the point? Rosie and Sam are such good friends, but they didn't answer why I had to be accepted. Then was important to me. It wasn't important when I was eating my food. The number of jars of pile of leaves were in a single leaf raking. They understood Molly counting, but she also had to be faster, Simon summarized. How would it be her to do that? We do need to exact the same amount, Rosie said, and paused. She held her half-eating toast on the middle of her right hand, and she twirled her left finger, but don't have to be fast. What do you mean? I asked. I don't know how to do it, Rosie asked. Simon asked. How? Rosie explained how she figured out to step 3, how to count the Skittles, and I thought it might just work. We only need to do more things before launching our mission the next day at school. For the first thing, I went to the sink and turned a hot water, and Rosie bought me the jar of raspberry jam, and Simon ran to the store to do a second thing. Chapter 6. We skipped lunch. The next day, I think we were all too nervous to eat anyway. It was time for lunch hour plan. I couldn't wait to find out how many Skittles are in Principal Shelton's jar. I thought about that's a lot the pressure night. It kept me up for a while as everybody else in the third grade went to their lunch, and I met Rosie right outside the girls' bathroom. The boys' bathroom was across the hall from the girls' bathroom. It worked out perfectly for our plan. Simon got there less than a minute after Rosie and I met. He asked, "Did you fill it up?" I shook my book bag so he could hear that we did. I nodded and said, "Great." "Do you have your flip-flops?" Rosie asked him. Like we. He shook his backpack a little, and they're in here. "Here's a little supplies," Rosie said to him and reached out his pocket and put out a little plastic bag with a tube of super glue and thumbtacks and some nail clippers inside. You know what to do," I said. "We'll meet back here in a few minutes." Simon tiptoed into the boys' bathroom. He didn't have a tiptoe or anything. He just did it for fun to be dramatic. Rose and I went to the girls' restroom. We got started. Rosie pulled out a toilet paper from the giant roll in the first bathroom stall. It ran all over the way in distance under the stall door. Imagine Rosie's hand. I stood in the front of the sink and I spread my legs apart and stretched my arms out wide. Rosie wrapped the toilet paper all around me and started at my ankle and works her way around each leg. When she's got to my stomach, and Rosie held the toilet paper in one place, I can turn slowly around a bunch of times. The work much faster halfway there. Rosie whispered a bit her lip. I think she's afraid the toilet paper might tear. She definitely didn't want to start over. We have a lot of time. Lunch period will be finished in 10 minutes. When Rosie got up to armpits, I stopped spitting and she took over again. She wrapped my left arm and then my right arm. Finally, she wrapped it on my head. It left plenty of room in my eyes and nose and mouth. When she was done, Rosie tore off the toilet paper that was tucked loose at the end of the unbreathable ones of the layers of my back. "Oh my," Rosie said and slapped her hand over her mouth. I could see her smiling behind her face. "What?" She shook her head and put her hand on my shoulder, and she turned me around to look in the mirror above the sink. And when I saw myself, I knew one thing for sure. I was just a few minutes away from those Skittles. How do you know thinking this plan will work out? Next is chapter 7. I'll finish that later.
Well, we only have a few minutes left, so we can end. Where did you stop at, Charlie?
I got done with chapter 6. Now I'm on
Okay.
chapter 7.
Tomorrow you're gonna start with what's the other book you were reading yesterday? Finish that last chapter. You gonna start reading your next book? I mean the one you had yesterday tomorrow? Or you gonna just read this one? You ever try that?
Yes, ma'am. I still haven't found that book yet.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, anyway, I'm on page 36 in the book that I'm reading, and I started and I think Vicki finished her book. If Janice, you get a chance to read with us tomorrow, I sure want to hear the rest of that book about Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, I have to speed it up because I'm on page 8. So I will
Oh,
go forward and see what I can really pull out about this queen.
I heard that. All right then. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 2, and thanks for
Saturday.
reading with
Tomorrow,
us.
Saturday.
Oh, I mean Monday. Thank you, Vic. I mean Monday. We don't read on the weekend. Monday. Okay.
Tomorrow is
Monday,
Saturday.
okay. Monday, all right.
Thank you. See you guys Monday. Have a great weekend.
All right, y'all.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Stay safe.
Okay, stay safe.